Good evening, friends, and we are back here with you today in the evening. We have a very happy Sunday with very two interesting topics from the chapters of the book that we have written during this pandemic and during this lockdown. And to announce the topics, I would now like to request Geeta Nagu to please announce the topics for the evening today. All are requested to post their questions and we'll get them answered.
Yes, Rajesh. Today we are going to discuss in detail about leadership and the impact of leadership in today's scenario and how we are going to be handling it. It is a fantastic topic and we will take it forward. Uh, and in our panel, we have Rajesh is the author of this book, and in our panel, we have Nagu Chidambaram as always. And now Rajesh will introduce the panelist.
Fantastic. So we are going to have a very pleasant evening today with a lot of interesting panelists with us. We have got Vishnu Prasad, Pratima Adluri, and Vinit Bansode who are here to ask us questions. I would like to request Vishnu Prasad to go ahead with his question and we get going on to the show. Yes, Vishnu.
Hi, Rajesh. Hi, everyone. One of the questions that I've always wanted to ask was, as business leaders, we've always talked about being ready for a rainy day. And though this is a situation wherein you see the effects almost immediately, and also the consequences tend to continue to stay, forcing us to change the way we operate moving forward. My question is more on the priorities of a business leader and managing things that are beyond one's control. How would business leaders develop a focus to things that would need priority once we open up our businesses, taking into account that nature of business like ours that depend a large extent in mind that the majority of all markets are now on is beyond our control? How do we continue to sustain and keep the customer engaged?
Fantastic. That's a lovely question, Vishnu Prasad. Vishnu Prasad is the director for the global business of Aurolab, which is one of the world's best organizations who have done a lot of innovation and invention in the global scenario for the eye care. Even Google as a platform takes their support, the Arvinda Eye Care and Aurolab, for introducing new systems of how technology can be used related to eyewear and eye care. So, Vishnu, thank you for that lovely question. You come under the priority zone. The governments of India and the governments world over will always create a separate passage for customers, for vendors who have got products which are of a priority nature, especially related to the health factors. So you will need to coordinate with the governments and the logistics companies and get special clearances the way we do get for special reasons when we want to move around in a red zone or an area which is a red zone. So you will have solutions, but majority of the industries will have an impact for the next coming months because restricted movement is going to happen not only for man, but also for machinery and goods. So you come under the category of essential goods, so you might not have a problem at Auro Labs or Arvind Eye Care if you want to move equipment or materials. Nagu, your take on Vishnu's question.
That's a very relevant question in today's market situation, more when you're concerned about your export business. Vishnu, thank you for coming into the show. And since I know the way you operate and the organization as an Aurolab and Arvind Eye Care Systems, let me tell you, I do understand that 80% of your business is export oriented and 20% of your business is domestic. So typically what you'll be looking at today is catering to the 20% of the customers. I mean, that's a no-brainer and that's no choice either, but then that's what's going to open up. So you're going to look at how do I open up my facility and how do I start graduating, maturing it. So first you start looking at your domestic customers, make sure you keep them perfectly fine set. As a next step, you start looking at which are the countries that are opening up. Now, the best fact today is it's not that Corona is over, the COVID-19 situation is over, and hence countries are opening up. Countries are opening up because they cannot take it any further. The economic pressure is absolutely killing and hitting them below the knee.
Yes.
So they want to open up at any cost, they want to open up. Now, you will start looking at which is a safe zone for you to start exporting to move it into the markets. These markets could be your existing markets, they could be your new markets, they could be low volume markets also. But any news is good news in today's situation. So you start moving into that. And then over a period of time, all the markets are going to open up. As I said, not because everything is cured and quelled, it's because of the economic situations. And very importantly, your product is not a cosmetic product. It's a fundamental product. It's like food, clothing, shelter, health. Now the entire world is shut because of what? Because of health reason. If it was any other reason, the world will not be shut. Certain portions might go slow. Here, the entire world is shut because of this. And therefore, this is going to immediately open up. Once the opening up of economies happen, your product is going to be lapped up. Now, as a third measure, what I would look at is you must start, as always, focusing on the domestic market.
Yes.
We have always said don't focus only on one market for Far East. Its export market is one market, and the other market is your domestic market. So you start focusing a lot on your domestic market, and as an extension, since you're operating out of India, you'll be looking at the closer markets as your Sri Lankan market, your Bangladesh market, your probably Nepal, all close by markets, which is as good as domestic. And as a good long-term step, as a final shot, I would advise, given your size, you should start making your presence felt as a domestic player in a European market or in an American market or in a larger market, even a Chinese market, where you will start saying, that's my domestic area of operation as well. Like the large car companies, they don't export from one zone alone. They have manufacturing facilities in the localized spots. So that's exactly where you'll need to move to. So this is a step-by-step approach, and that's how your growth trajectory is going to hit off as well.
Fantastic. Thank you, Nagu. You need to start classifying your products with the government agencies to begin with, Vishnu. Criticals that need to be provided in terms of products and services. And you need to be prepared for all the paperwork in advance before the unlocking starts happening of the lockdown, which has happened. My next guest panelist today is a very dynamic lady, one of the best HR professionals of the country. She holds a very senior position in one of the multinational organizations of this world. And she has been proficient in how to understand human behavior and how to make them productive for those respective companies. We have with us our very dear friend Pratima Adluri, and I would like to request her to position her question to the audience and to us.
Thank you, Rajesh, and hello all. Now, while the COVID crisis is going to continue, and looking at a positive side also, there is no denying that it is also acting as a catalyst for change at an economic, society, or a corporate level, at a scale at which no one has seen it since the wartime. And the scale and the speed at which it is changing is shining a bright light on the fact that companies are facing a once-in-a-generation shift. We've also seen research that in crises, those companies that swiftly create an edge for themselves will be best positioned to accelerate out of the downturn. For example, during the 2008 financial crisis, the top quintile of companies were ahead of the peers by about 20 percentage points as they moved into the recovery in terms of cumulative total return to shareholders. Now, when we observed those companies 8 years later also, they had maintained a lead and had grown to more than 150 percentage points when compared to their competitors. Therefore, one key lesson very clearly is companies that move early and decisively in a crisis do their best. And we have also seen now that COVID-19 crisis is also significantly accelerating the shift to completely a virtual world, which we have never seen in the past. And it's fundamentally shaking up the whole business landscape. While the tech-enabled businesses are able to move at quite a speed, like your food aggregators, Zomato or Swiggy, so that means moving from a nice-to-have experimentation phase to an active large scale-up. That has to happen across several dimensions. So what role should business building have in helping one accelerate their entrance into the new markets or access new customers through digitization? And also how one can actually lock in the benefits of more agile operating model to increase the metabolic rate of the business?
Fantastic. That's a very impactful question, Pratima. Thanks for that. I would like to request Geeta Nagu, and then I'll add my comments to her answers also. Geeta, you can go for it.
Yes. That's a very interesting question. And today it is all about getting prepared. Planning and preparedness is very, very important in whichever sector we are in. And very dynamic decision making is part of the whole thing. In planning and preparation, it is all about your first is resources. You have to plan your capital. You have to plan your energy, effort, your market, your stakeholders, your investors. It's all preparation. Quickly take it in the digital and technology front also. And Rajesh will clearly explain about the digital and technological front.
Fantastic. So Pratima, it is all the leadership that counts. You're an HR professional, and this is a testing times for all leaders at all levels, right? At the organization levels as well as the management levels. What critically needs to happen is how will the leader decide? So there is a formula for that. It is you need to define your current situation. You need to analyze the current situation. You need to forecast what is going to happen. These are all leadership roles. After you define, you then need to decide. Once the analysis is done, you then need to decide on the steps that you are going to take as a leader and instill confidence in your team and trust and faith in your team to follow your decisions. After you define, you need to decide, and then you need to lead. The leader is the best leader. The guy who can lead himself the best is the best leader for the group also, and he needs to follow his own decisions to begin with and become an example for the team to follow. Once you define, you decide your steps, and once you define your steps, you lead the steps. You lead from the front. The leader should always at all times be joyful. He should not be bogged down by the environment, but his focus should be on the goal. His confidence should be on the team. His confidence should be on the resources, and he needs to be joyful, and he needs to create joy not only for himself and his organization, but for the teams, for the vendors, for the customers, and the environment around him. So I will call this formula as the DDLJ formula. You need to define, you need to decide, you need to lead, and you need to become joyful. Joy for yourself and joy for others. Happiness improves your productivity. That is the suggestion. This is a digital world. You cannot escape digitization. Technology is your surname. You have to live and you have to breathe with technology. Today, it is a question of life and livelihood. We need to protect. Technology is a great leveler, which is making the whole world into a small village, and opportunities can be exchanged. Customers can be exchanged. The same customers can be given more products and services. So the game has changed, and this is called as the new world order. Thank you, Pratima, for your question. I would now like to request Vinit Bansode, who is one of the best graphologists in India. He's a life coach, he's a TEDx speaker, and he's also a part of the management team at Business Opportunities Club. So it is all about people, leadership, their mindset, and decision-making process that he's involved with. My next person to ask the question is Vinit Bansode.
Yeah, leaders have been trained and they have the experience to handle situations when the situations were certain and stable. But in current scenario, when taking an action plan or making decisions, how do you know? Because nobody is trained into working in this kind of situation. What is right? What is important? What is not taking? You'll be taking first time in your life. So that's my question.
So these are very interesting times. Geeta would like to comment on that, and then I can definitely add to it. Yes, Geeta, you're raring to go. Please.
Yes. No. That's a lovely, relevant question, Vinit. Everybody, whoever is driving the car, whoever is in the front seat is asking the same question today. First is, as a leader, he needs to adapt to the change. It is a changed scenario. He is also okay for him to go forward tomorrow. And he has to make it proactively. That is very, very important. The third thing, which is very important for today's leader, is honesty and transparency. It is very important that he is honest and transparent to his investors, to his stakeholders, to his bankers, to his customers, to his vendors, and to his employees. It's very, very important that he's honest and transparent. And the fourth important aspect which is required for today's leader is self-care. Self-care is you have to nourish yourself. Mentally, you have to be strong. You have to be stable. You have to become an epicenter of calmness and peace, because you are only going to make all the shots. So you have to take care of yourself through meditation, reading, and a lot of introspection, calmness and patience. It's very, very important. And the final thing is how he is going. The ultimate vaccination and the medicine for today's scenario is only hope, prayer, and positivity. There is no shortcut to this. He needs to be extraordinarily positive and extraordinarily hopeful. And there are 3 I's to the whole thing. And the 3 I's for this leadership is all about intention. If he's driven very strongly by the power of purpose, that vision, that will take him through. So his intention has to be very, very strong. And the next I is the influence. Influence, it's not through dictatorship. He's going to encompass everybody through compassion, through passion, and he's going to involve everybody, and he's going to influence everybody and make them walk along with him. That is very, very important. And number 3 is impact. He needs to take actions for results, not actions for action's sake. That is very important. Today, whatever he does has to be extraordinarily result producing. So he has to take care of the 3 I's, which is the intention, which is the influence, and which is the impact. And with all of this, we are ready for the today's game.
Fantastic, Geeta. And the 4th I from I doesn't start with an I, it starts with an E. You need to keep your eye on the goal. When you are driving on the road with a car at full speed, you need to be careful of the potholes and the dividers that come along the way. The leader has to be ready to flexible, have decisions a flexible way. He needs to keep amending it. He needs to keep shifting it. He needs to increase the tempo, reduce the tempo. He needs to be agile, alive, and alert at all possible times. He needs to be open to suggestions. He needs to take good decisions, and he needs to take a little tough decisions also with a positive output, with the convincing and the conviction of the team along with him. It is an inclusive environment now. A leader cannot say that he's a leader and randomly start taking decisions. The people will not support him. And these are not the times of money power. These are the times of manpower. The quality of manpower improves when their faith in their leader enhances. So these are very critical times, and I think we are ready for the next section to go. Vinit Bansode, thank you so much. Pratima, thank you so much. Vishnu Prasad, it was awesome to have you all on board. And before we go to the next section, I would like to go for a question, a very long one though, but I will go for it. And the new team can by the time join us. Shagufta Shan, myself, Shagufta Shan, trainer, human resources. My question is, what would be the consequences on world economy after COVID-19? As we are aware about these days, many entrepreneurs and businesses are suffering. Even people have chances to get fired or can get cut in their pay scales due to unusual situation, or can say due to this pandemic. Highlight these points, please. So Shagufta, we need to become very practical to the situation. We need to understand that everybody's revenues is going to be into the contraction mode. It will take some more time for unfolding. That time can be from 3 months to 12 months. We have to be patient. We need to understand the resources of the organization. We need to understand and measure the productivity of each team member in the organization and accordingly behave. Every team member is going to play a leader's role where he has to beat his own productivity and make sure that he works 25 to 50% more than what he worked before, because these are trying times and everybody collectively as a team only can change the scenario. Nagu, your take on that question.
No, it's absolutely right. In fact, we need to be prepared that there are going to be retrenchment. There is going to be a salary cut. If somebody can hold on to their jobs, I think that's the biggest gift. It's God sent in today's market. And every entrepreneur has got to look at how do we hold on? How do we hang in? How do we stay? They are going to get a haircut or it's going to be a total shave, but they're going to see how to hold on, how to stay. So everybody is going to see how to cling on. And the only possibility is by improving their skills, getting more agile, getting more aggressive in the market. You cannot be dominant. You cannot be quiet about it. You have to be dominant. You have to push it till you really have that attitude, fake that attitude. That's the only way forward. Otherwise, you're like going to think out of the negativity and out of the sheer pressure. So I think that's the only way forward. Stay in, but be practical about what's happening around.
It is the question of sustenance. Jo tikega, wo jeetega. So that's a Hindi statement. Sorry, Nagu, you might not get that. Vincent Matthias is going to be the next person to ask the question. Mr. Vincent Matthias is the founder of the Christian Chamber of Commerce and Industry and is a stalwart in the packaging industry, corrugated boxes. He's a national leader for that, and he has got international glory to the way he operates his factory from Goa and multiple places of Maharashtra. So, Mr. Vincent Matthias, over to you for your question.
Yeah, thank you, Rajesh. Many economists predict that India is going to be the third largest economy of the world. Do you agree on that? And if, because of this pandemic, all the world has been cornered, China, do you think that the opportunity has come to our doorstep, and how the entrepreneur and the government have to act to encash that opportunity?
Fantastic, Mr. Vincent Matthias, that's a fantastic question. Let me get into the global scenario for the moment. Let us not understand what $1 trillion means, but let us just understand the numbers that I would like to share. America is the leading economy of the world with $21.47 trillion of economy. The second is China at $9.6+ trillion. The third is Japan at 5.2. The fourth is Germany at 4.2. The fifth is UK at 3.2. And the sixth currently is India, around $3 trillion. Now, we need to understand the number gap. The number gap, the top player is 21.47, and India on the sixth position is around $3 trillion. So the population of India is, the population of America, United States, is only 23% that of India. So India is going to climb the ladder. China has lost its sheen because of the fiasco which has happened, and a lot of countries want to move out their investments out of China and get into other options like India, which will lead the pack. India will be the first area to reach small multinational companies internationally. Second, there will be other countries like Thailand, Vietnam, Malaysia, Indonesia, and all those countries are also going to take a pie of the cake. But India does stand a great chance because our population is our strength, and that is what is going to serve products and services to the rest of the world. The role of China is going to be replaced by the role of India. The growth of China was only in the last 50 years, and the growth of India is going to be exactly what China happened for the next 50 years. So it's going to be the Indian era, and the rest of the world is going to look at India as a land of opportunities, and our population is going to be our biggest strength. So we are definitely going to march up. We displaced France and came to the 6th position. We will now very shortly, any moment, will displace UK and come to the 5th position, and thereon we will start taking country by country and move forward. That is the growth story for India. For sure, this is going to be happening. Thank you for your question, Mr. Vincent Matthias, and we
Yes.
look forward for glorious times ahead. Namrata Thakkar, your question, please. Can you go ahead with your question? We can't hear you. You're, I think, mute.
Namrata, you're on mute, I think.
Yes. Yeah, Namrata. Okay. So, can I ask Manoj Lulla to fire his question?
Manoj?
Yeah. Good evening, everyone.
Yeah.
Hi, Rajesh.
Good evening.
My question to you is very simple. In these trying times, especially with large manufacturing units, when they have to cut down their workforce, I mean, on one side, you have the law and you follow the law, but then there's also a moral side because these people don't know where to go. And if you have 2,000 people or 3,000 people, how are you going to cut down 500,000? How are you going to make the decision who to fire and who to keep? And it's in these trying times, they are going to have even more tougher times than even businessmen. I'm talking about blue collar jobs and not your typical guys in the office. So how is the leader going to tackle something like that?
Fantastic. Geeta, you can have a go at it, and then Nagu, and then I would love to add it. Yes, Geeta, please go
Yeah,
ahead.
Manoj, that's a brilliant question, Manoj. And yes, it is a very hard time, and as leaders, this is a very challenging time for us to make the tough decisions. Making the toughest decisions, it's very heart-wrenching. But nevertheless, it's a responsibility of the leader to do it because he's the captain of the ship. He has to save the ship. That's very, very important. He has to get the lifeboat, even save a couple of them. But ultimately, the captain of the ship has to save. That's the job. So having that purpose in today, if you have to take 4 steps backward to sustain, today the game is all about how are you going to sustain the game and then going forward. In that comes your retrenchment. If you have to take that step, you have to take that step. And for that, we have to very logically, with a heart and a mind. First, your mind has to work and then the heart has to work. With both in place, we have to go forward and make the decisions nevertheless, because that is the role of a leader. We cannot fail because it is our responsibility to safeguard the organization, which is the prime most. We are here. My first job as a leader is to protect my company. Who is the company? That is the soul which protects so many lives, so many vendors, and so many customers. It's a responsibility, it's a commitment. In that, we have to make the best call, however hard it might be, and we have to move forward.
Fantastic. Nagu, your take on it. It's a very important question for all of us.
Manoj, it's a very important
Yes.
question. This is spinning in everybody's mind. So here's what is my take on the whole subject. So you were talking about, I'll split it into 2-3 parts. You were talking about blue collar and not the people at the office. Let's first of all understand, everybody, whether it's blue collar or mid management or senior management, they are all used to a particular spend based on their particular revenue. Now, every entrepreneur worth the name, small, medium, large, based on their size, they've got their own cup of woes. They have their own issues. Let's say banks, borrowings, EMIs, repayments, XYZ, everything happening. So it doesn't really differentiate. This pandemic really does not differentiate between large and small. In fact, it's the larger guy who's going to get hit first more than the smaller man. So here I would like to say a blue collar or a mid management or senior management are all on the same platform. They take a hit, then they take a hit. So that's something that we need to come to terms with, number one. Number two, now, if you're going to ask a question in the position and capacity as the leader of an organization, please keep all your other sentiments out. You only apply your mind to the organization. And as an organization top man leader, what's right for the organization is what you need to decide. Please don't put a name or a face to a name to the people, staff, team, because in that case, your decision is going to be very biased. It's not going to be accurate. It's not going to be to the point. So the question you're going to ask is, if you were a consultant and the company that you need to consult is your company, in so as this situation is concerned, then what's going to be the decision that you will be taking? That's the way you will have to look at that. And you only apply your mind and not anything else. Having done that, you don't stop it with it. You go to the third step. The third step is you then say, let me keep my mind away, and now let me bring my heart in place. And let me see if this is really essential. And if I do this, how many people is it going to affect? If it's going to affect, do they have an option today? Will they be able to climb up? Or is it going to really beat them? Is it going to take them off? Is it a shot below the belt? And if it is still felt as a wasted spend, but nevertheless you can cushion that spend, it's not going to rock the boat, then please take an empathetic decision at that point in time. Because now you've
Very right.
addressed the company. The company is prime. The company serves everybody. Like for instance, when you travel in the flight, if the oxygen level drops, what does the pilot say? First, address, take the mask and put it onto your face, then put it onto the child's face next to you. It's not child first, it is you first. Why? Because you play the lead role. Similarly, any organization, you play the lead role. So you need to make sure that you protect the organization, because the organization protects so many people. Then take an empathetic call whereby you say, this is really not going to affect the organization, but it's going to affect that individual, and you go from there. But I don't think you can say this to everybody, but you need to. Whatever it is, finally, if you need to let go, let it be done in a very humane way. Let it not just be a pink slip. Let it not be going from a nobody. Let it be done in a thought processed way where you address it, you address the sentiment, and you try and see if you can adjust their future by a letter, by a communication, by a recommendation, what you think you can do. And then try and see after 2-3 months if they are fine, and if they still need some support, can you be just giving them a pat on the shoulder, some kind of a representation at that point in time. You don't just cut it off and walk away. Basically, friends, I believe that there are 3 characteristics that any leader needs to possess. And I call them as 3 C's. The first C is the character. Every leader, every human being for that matter, more so for a leader, must show character. Show character at all times, show character at times of crisis, because that's when you're seen, heard, watched, and it's needed. Let's face that. So character, number 1. Number 2, as a leader, you need to have the capability. If you don't have the capability, then everybody who's bet on you are going to sink. And now you need to have the capability to pull them. You will be taking some tough shots, rough calls, bold decisions. Take it for the benefit of everybody, because you definitely have the capability. You need to therefore have it. Third most important thing, communication. Learn to communicate right, learn to communicate on time, and learn to communicate to everybody the why of anything and everything. Don't just say do it, because nobody wants to listen to somebody who says do it. They just want to listen to the why. Once you appeal to the why, then you don't have to say do it. They have already started doing it. You don't have to say that the house is on fire. They see it, they start running. So here, your communication needs to be that way. So that will be my take on this situation. It's a very difficult situation, like what you said, Manoj. It's touching everybody. But if somebody can look at it in this process, I feel the world will be a much better place. Rajesh.
Fabulous, Nago. That is excellent. But we should never forget in our life that this life is all full of only connections. After the 3 C's, the 4th C that I would recommend is connections, because the connections bring you opportunities. The connection can give you relief. The connections can also solve your problems. Manoj Lulla is a very fantastic car buff from Chennai, and he also heads the Chennai Exotic Car Club. So that was a very intelligent question, Manoj. But as leaders, like Nagu said, the character of the entrepreneur will be completely exposed in this scenario. Rather than abandoning your people, the leader of the organization should become a motivational trainer and a skill upgrading trainer. You need to upgrade the skill sets of your employees. The first step should never be to retrench your employees, but the first step is how you can make the employee more productive. The opportunity that the employee has got from you is after passing the due interview test, and then you have selected him and brought him into the organization. This time is going to be very dangerous to abandon our teams, and that is what even the government is requesting. So we have to carry the productive people with the not so productive people, and it is our responsibility to ensure that they become productive. You can change the scale of their revenues by reducing their salaries and keeping them on an incentive model so that they become responsible for their self-performance. So how you deal with people is going to define you as a leader. And always remember one thing: Now onwards, life is going to always be at war. We are going to be at war with livelihood and with economy. So we have to have the right set of people with us. We cannot have employees anymore with us. We need to have partners of progress with us, and we need to have our people who are like soldiers for us. You stand with them today, and tomorrow they will be ready to take a bullet on their chest. And that is the kind of psychology that we need to build in these times. These are the trying times for us. We don't go on the India-Pakistan border to take the real bullet in our chest, but we have to be, as entrepreneurs, standing with our employees and making sure that we protect them, guide them, train them, make them productive, retain them, and make them grow along with us. The responsibility of the organization will also going to be depending on how the entrepreneur is going to train, treat, and retain the team that he has. So axing somebody's job should be the last option. Somehow you need to make him productive, and somehow it needs to work. That should be the attitude that we need to take in these trying times. Thank you so much, Manoj, for your brilliant question. Namrata Thakkar, if you're on and ready with your question, we can go for Namrata Thakkar. Namrata Thakkar is a very interesting entrepreneur, my friend. She has created a connection group, the connection that she has used, and she has got 49,596 entrepreneurs on a platform which is called Entrepreneurs Excel. So that's a glaring and a daring example of what a lady can do when she is having a absolute vision and mission clear in front of her. Namrata, it's all yours. You can ask the question.
Yes, can you all hear me?
Yes, very good.
Yes, Namrata.
Thank God. Okay, my question to the panel is that in this community, we are so used to, having learnings, bonding, empowering, and connecting the dots. Like we have hosted Facebook Boost, we have hosted LinkedIn, World Trade Center. We recently had on 9th March a big event of Women Days where we had exhibitions. But though our team is coping up with webinars and learning to go offline and, doing things like, technically, but we are not used to it. We are so used to human touch, connections. So will it be same, or how long it will be same, or we have to always continue with this, or that old era will come back, or we have to forget about it? That question keeps on coming in my mind.
Geeta, your answer.
Yes, Namrata, that keeps coming in our mind, and the old era is going to very soon come back, and we are all going to enjoy the direct connectivity too. But meanwhile, we would have mastered and gotten used to this too. This is going to work very well. Trust me, this is so efficient, so smooth and flawless. This is actually able to connect more people than what it was possible in a human connect. So you have to look at the best side of it. The best side is you're able to connect to more people, which you were not able to connect earlier. You're able to connect to more, so that is the best side. So in this, people are mastering how to do this. In the last 60 days across the world, that life trained us. There was no special coach, but life happened, and we all got trained to video conferencing, communication, productivity, and topping it. So we will learn to excel. This is always going to be part of our life, which is going to be an added strength. And the eventuality, the normalcy will also return, and there also we will excel. So actually, we've got an additional strength or an additional market because of this. So look at it like that.
So I feel, Namrata, your business scope will improve now because there is no geographical restrictions. Technology is in your grip of your hands. It is in your house, in your office. And now there is no differentiation between your office and your home also. You might think you're living in the office, or you might think the office is in the house. So it depends on how you look at life. But I feel instead of holding events for 5,000 people, now you'll be able to hold events for 50,000 people, 1 lakh people. There is no limit to that. You can keep a concert and there might be 10 lakh people who will view it. And instead of selling a pass for 25,000 rupees, you can sell a pass for 250 rupees and still collect more money than what you would have collected by charging them 25,000 rupees. The quality of entertainment, the quality of knowledge, nothing gets diluted. Only the format changes. It might be temporary, but social distancing is here to stay for quite some time. And we are not only going to be conscious for the self-hygiene. We were always conscious about self-hygiene. But now onwards, the life is going to be such that we will be also responsible for the hygiene in the environment around you. So we are going to be socially global citizens, and we need to be cautious about everything that happens around us. So we are going to be responsible for that. We are run out of time. I will just take this last one question and conclude the session. What's your take on growth opportunities for entrepreneurs in terms of pace and volume with economy in bad time and economy in best times? This is a question from Ravi Salunke, a very successful entrepreneur from Nasik. And this is his question. Nagu, your take on this.
Okay, Ravi, first of all, I'd like you to change the wording. It's not bad time. You'd probably want to call it as challenging time. Okay, so once you call it a bad time, you've given it a clear idea. You told your mind that this is bad and you just don't want to touch it. You want to get away. But when you say challenging, you're starting to say let me cross it. Let me learn how to jump over it. Let me move over it. So rephrase your thought and your solution is going to be in accordance. So these are challenging times. In challenging times and then in best times. So what I would suggest is stabilize yourself properly, okay? And once you've stabilized yourself properly, you start partly looking at what are the opportunities available. It's not that opportunities are available only in good times. Opportunities are available to a man who looks for opportunities. In fact, in most of the times in the share trade business, only when the shares are dumping do people make money. So there are times and there are industries and businesses where people make money at all times. Why? They look for opportunities, they rework their strategies, and then they move. What worked for you yesterday is not going to work for you today. That's understandable. So you cannot say, I tried the same thing yesterday, it worked today, why isn't it working? Rework it. Once you've reworked it, you'll have it going. So it's not a question of bad time, good time. It's a question of what is your intent, attitude, thought. How do you want to drive it? The way you want to drive it, you're going to see it and you're going to get it. My dear friend, every time is a good time for an entrepreneur. And because every entrepreneur lives on only one thing, and that is hope. He has faith on hope. And that's the only thing that's going to take him forward.
Fantastic, Nago. Thank you so much. I would like to give the concluding remarks by saying that, friends, we need to understand the size of the economy of US is 7 times more in spite of being only 1/4 of the population of India. And why is it so? The life cycle of an entrepreneur starts by him being an employee in most of the cases. He's an employee, then he becomes self-employed, then he starts employing more people, and then he starts employing other entrepreneurs. But the countries whose economies are top 4 or top 5, you know what they have done? My friends, they have not only engaged entrepreneurs, they have engaged other countries to work for them, and those countries are the wealth builders for them. So China works for United States, the best brains of India works for United States, Germany works for United States. All of these countries collectively work for United States, and that is how United States, which has got only 23% population of India, is 7 times more big in economy in terms of the size of the business that they do. We also need to become entrepreneurs like Apple or Tesla or Mercedes or BMW, who has employed other countries to work for them. So we need to rise from hiring employees to rise to hiring entrepreneurs to then hiring countries. And that's going to be the growth story of India. That will also address Vincent Matthias's question on how will be the growth story for India happen. When India starts employing other countries to work for them, that is the time when we will reach to the $20 trillion economy or the $30 trillion economy. And that's where we are going to be the real superpowers, friends. So let us all rejoice these times. There is no point in being sad. We have to live with Corona. We have to live and work around Corona. We have to increase our immunity systems and beat this world and win over life and livelihood. That is my message for all. Thank you so much. Have a God bless evening. This is Agnello Rajesh signing off.
This is Geeta Nagu signing off, and it is all about possibility. Everything is possible with hope and positivity. That is the only vaccination and immunity which we are going to build, and wishing you an amazing life. See you tomorrow.
Hi, this is Nagu Chidambaram. Thank you very much for joining us on the show. And I would like to extend our heartfelt thanks to all the panelists for being here, all the 6 of you. It was wonderful. And I hope we shared a lot of our thoughts, because ultimately, everybody should be moving up the ladder. We should all be growing. We should all be doing great in life. All the best to all of us. Thank you very much. See you all tomorrow evening.
Thank you so much, Nagu. Thank you, Manoj Lulla. Thank you, Namrata Thakkar. Thank you, Mr. Vincent Matthias. Thank you, Pratima Adluri. Thank you, Vishnu Prasad. And thank you, everybody in the audience and Vinit Bansode for being with us today. God bless the evening. Thank you.